2021 was the last full year of programming that Funimation added to its site before its merger with Crunchyroll. In total, 68 series made their way to the site, which sadly means we're one off from the funny number, but for this list, I'll be trying a new format, so do tell me if you enjoyed this style more than my 2020 ranking video. Before we begin, a bit of admin. These rankings are simply my opinions, so just because I like a show you don't, and vice versa, yada yada yada. Only series that made it onto the site will be counted, yada yada yada. Only content released by this date will be considered, yada yada yada. Let's get started. First, what series will end the year with getting the wooden spoon? For me, it came down to 3. Hortensia Saga, a god-awful fantasy series trying to market its mobile game. Gek Idols, an idol anime that tried to juggle 10 different storylines and dropped the ball on all of them. And lastly, The Detective Is Already Dead, a lackluster adaptation of a light novel series that failed to make sense of its various timelines. But I based my final decision on which of these series I would least want to rewatch, and in that competition, number 68 has to go to Hortensia Saga. The series was so bad I had to ask whether or not it was better than 2020's Shioneka Project, the third worst series from 2020. So yeah, the series is pretty bad. Of the other two, Gek Idols will be taking 67th place, or at least trying some stuff, even if it all falls completely flat. And that means The Detective Is Already Dead will be taking 66th place for being at least better in the visual and audio department in this competition. Now that we've cleared the abysmally bad series, we move on to those that are just pretty bad. The first of these is number 65, Scarlet Nexus. It got a full 26 episodes and failed to build up any of its side cast, monsters, or any reason to watch the anime, given the source game is better known for its gameplay than its story, and rushing through it does it no favors. Number 64, Battle Athlete Victory Restart, just skates by Scarlet Nexus by being laughably bad. It ends its Super Ninja Warrior sports series with a 10-meter dash, add in laughable story beats, 2 poorly animated trucks, and making the same mistakes the original did with race relations, and you really have to wonder if it learned anything from the series it was restarting. But we make a trip back to the Overlong with number 63, Platinum Men, who fail to realize you can't have neat battles when everything's a one-hit kill. Several of the side cats also amount to very little, and frankly, it's really not worth watching. But it may anger some to see the ugliest animation of the batch, number 62, Tesla Note, Beat It. Like, yeah, the animation is not good, but you can get used to it, and while its story is in the winner, it at least keeps it short and simple, and doesn't overstay its welcome. We now move to the series that are only just bad, with 3 of them getting the open slots in our bottom 10. A lot of the series in this category that fall here are either misguided or have a key issue that keeps them from being considered mediocre. The first of these is a great example of this. Number 61, suppose a kid from the Last Dungeon Boonies moved to a starter town. A comedy that never moves on from the joke of the protagonist is overpowered, but is too dumb to realize that, no matter how clear it is. This is an idiot's plot, and if you want something simple, this may be fine, but this genre is just way too saturated to excuse its faults. Number 60, Blue Reflection Ray, may just be a case of it not being my cup of tea, but it just felt overlong, and it just got boring for me, as the characters weren't doing much for me at the time of watching. But the series taking 59th and the final spot in our bottom 10 is Deep Insanity, The Lost Child. Honestly, the show is being carried this high by having a cool non-binary character. The rest of its cast is lackluster and this world is hardly built upon, and it's honestly quite boring. But just outside of that bottom 10, we got number 58, Cardfight Vanguard, Overdress, a card game anime that fails to explain how its core game works, but whose second season was decent enough to raise it just outside of the bottom 10. Number 57 goes to LBX Girls, who spends way too much time going over tourist locations instead of having cool fights with its girls in power suits. But at least it makes sense story-wise, I guess. Number 56 and 55 go to SD Gundam World Hero and Super Cub, respectively. These two series are the series I didn't finish. SD Gundam World Hero is an anime made for kids that I really had no interest in watching, while Super Cub was simply just too slow of a slice-of-life anime for me to continue past the halfway point. And then we have the two special ones, number 54 and 53. The two series that had a lot of good things going for them, but had just one key issue that led to their placing. 54 is My Senpai is Annoying. And I understand that for some, this is just a simple banana hamster romance story. However, I can't look past how it treats its main character and how heavily it leads into some problematic elements of her being just too kid-like. And for a banana hamster romance, this is a big issue. I don't know if this is on the source material or the direction of the adaptation, but I can't in my right mind place this above the bar. The other series is Wonder Egg Priority, and it was quite a disappointment, as 80% of the series is really good, and I could have even allowed it to challenge for a top 10 spot. but the last 20% led to the series' failure, as it botched the main villain very hard, which is rather noticeable in a series that was only being held together with rubber bands and paper clips. It sours how the show was portraying the harrowing topic of suicide among adolescent girls. UVA, which attempted to cover this botch, was also botched, leaving a generally sour taste as one of the last memories of the series. Maybe a second season could fix this, but we'll have to wait and see. At number 52, we've officially reached the bar. This is the baseline I compared all these series to, and the award goes to Cognato. The show is a bunch of short, inconsequential skits featuring a whole wide range of Kyoku animation characters. It had no real intention of telling a strong narrative, but makes a fine average viewing experience. Now we move to the 3 series just straddling the bar. Those are number 51, Idly Pride, number 50, Asian Girl Frame, and number 49, Skate Leading Star. A middling idol series, a middling mech anime, and a middling sports series respectively, with the last one getting the nod for having a decent episode with its side teams. But number 48, Scar on the Prey tier, just clears the bar by having at least some soul, even though it mostly just resulted in a brainless action series in practice. Then there's number 47, Oh What a Fall You Had, How a Realist Hero Rebuilt the Kingdom. Again, you were floating on just fine, but man, that second season really dropped the ball with the slave nonsense, and it led to your ranking tumbling to where you are now. But now we move to a few proof of concepts that had some promise. These include number 46, Drowning Sorrow and Raging Fire, a Chinese series that I'm not sure where its trajectory is going to take it and its characters to, and for me the show would really need a good second season to pull it any higher. Number 45, Sorairo Utility, was a small project to show off some golf. Given Birdie Wing is a hot commodity now, we might see something more from this. But as it stands now, it's just a one episode thing that's pretty alright, but overall not impactful on the year. The next 2 animes were music-based series that lacked variety in its songs to push them any higher. Those being number 44, Mute King the Dancing Hero, and number 43, Visual Prison. Mute King proved it could do dancing fights, but I think it could benefit from more variety in songs and presentations in the first half. Visual Prison is peddling pretty boy vampires, whose side teams only have like one song to play. Maybe if you're looking for pretty boys, it could be higher, but I think it sells around here. The last series that was a proof of concept was number 42, Remain, whose twist will probably determine your feelings on the series. For me, I'm not exactly sold that this was the best story to be told, but nothing ventured, nothing gained. Now we have the trio series saved by good animation. Number 41's Flesh and Project has a weak back half, but solid animation, which is a win for an idol anime. Number 40 Amen had meh world building and characters, but has good looking mech fights. Number 39 Pride of Orange has no right to be this high, but its animation, especially in the hockey matches, overperformed. Thus, my hands are tied. As we move deeper into this list and further into the fighting category, we have number 38, The Defective, and number 37, Link Click. Both of these were Chinese series that were too early to call, but are fine as is. Number 36, Build a Vibe, is a fine card game anime. Shame the actual game is probably not going to make it stateside, but I did find the location mechanic a neat addition. 35th goes to Obey for meeting the expectations of a niche short series for people looking for Demon Boys. Then we have the series I had trouble ranking, Back Arrow. The series is 75% good, but sputters out in the back 25%. Not to the same degree as Wonder Egg, mind you, but I do think it can only be ranked among the fine series. So congrats for getting 34th place. With that, we can drop the guessing part as we reach the series I would happily say are fine. This category starts off with number 33, Rebel Garandol, which I really wish was better than it actually was, as I love the core relationship between its main characters and the shark mech girl, but the other parts unfortunately drag the series down. I really do think a second season with better direction could boost the series higher, but c'est la vie. Now let's rapid fire the series that are just a fine example of their genre. Number 32, Otherside Picnic, is a fine sci-fi series with sapphic vibes. Number 31, The Duke of Deafness Maid, is a fair romance anime, not exactly my cup of tea, but probably has its fans. Number 30, Banished from the Hero's Party, is a pleasant fantasy series with slow healing vibes and some okay romance. Number 29, Volunteer Tomazaki-Kun, is an okay romance series for you gamers out there. Number 28, 2.43, is an admirable underdog sports series. Number 27, Dragon Goes House Hunting, is a decent comedy that unfortunately never really evolves. The same goes for number 26, Life Lessons with Yorimichi Onisan, only with an extra serving of existential dread. Number 25, The Saint's Power is Omnipotent, has some neat concepts, but is paced too slowly, so get back to me when the plot starts moving. Number 24, Full Dive, has a weak start and the protagonist can be annoying at times, but we get to see some actual growth. some occasionally good comedy, and an alright final episode, so it leaves me feeling good about the series. Number 23, The World Ends With You, is an alright video game adaptation, at least to someone with no familiarity with the original series. Taisho Otome Fairy Tale is a soft romance series set in a historical era that meets expectations. Just don't think too hard about the historical outcome of that event they lived through. But let's end the series with number 21, The Dungeon of Black Company. Crap, I'm out of synonyms for fine, but you get the point. It's a fun comedy with some neat characters, but it's overshadowed by a series in the top 10. Now we enter the top 20, the series that I think are good, starting with Cells at Work, Code Black. This builds upon the original Cells at Work and covers a body dealing with poor health. Unfortunately though, its final scene leaves a bit of a sour taste in my mouth. Number 19 goes to the case study of Vanitas, an action series that almost feels nostalgic with its animation style. It has beautiful scenery and fun characters. I would need a bit more content to shore up my opinion before I would place it any higher. For a comedy that hasn't exactly evolved, but at least covers multiple avenues for its humor, we have number 18, The Vampire Dies in No Time. It's fun, but nothing mind-blowing. Number 17, we have the Hike story, which may have gone higher if I was more familiar with the source story, so feel free to call me uncultured if you think it should be higher. Number 16, Sonny Boy is really cool visually and has some fascinating core concepts, but I think the main protagonist leaves something to be desired. Number 15 belongs to Mars Red, a good historical vampire piece set in Japan. It's very artsy, but I personally think another vampire series beats it out. Number 14, Horimiya is really lucky I'm a big fan of the source manga, so I was part of its target demographic, as I did want to see my favorite parts get adapted. And lo and behold, it adapted some of my favorite scenes, so I was satisfied. Number 13, Yarako-chan has some very strong visuals and designs for its various spirits. I also enjoy the humor of its protagonist trying to no-sell the horrors she is stuck seeing. Now that leaves the series I think overperformed the most. Number 12, Pretty Boy Detective Love. I loved its core message, and it offered a lot of variety with its varying art styles. So yeah, it's getting a recommendation from me. But the series just missing out on placing the top 10 is number 11, Mushoku Tensei, one of the best looking animes of 2021. It definitely has a lot of promise with reforming its main protagonist, but I'm still holding out to see how Season 3 handles the topic it has presented, as this will make or break the series in my eye. But at long last, we have reached the top 10, the cream of the crop, the absolute best of the year. Starting off, we have my favorite vampire series of the year, number 10, Irina, the Vampire Cosmonaut. It's the great space race, but with vampires. The titular Irina and her co-protagonist have a great developing relationship, and it's well animated to boot. Number 9 is my favorite pure comedy of the year, Combatants Will Be Dispatched. The evolved form of the Dungeon of Black Company with a dash of evil. A lot of the comedy hits, and I really enjoyed the dub. Number 8 officially made me a fan of idol animes, so congrats to Love Live Superstar for setting the bar too high for any idol series that follows you. Number 7, Kageki Shoujo is a great example of how to build a supporting cast. Its core concepts are very strong, and if you're looking for something sapphic, this series should treat you well. For my mech fans, I highly recommend checking out number 6, SSSS Daizenzan. Strong characters, strong fights, and fun mech designs, everything you should need for a mech series. I talked about proofs of concepts earlier on the list, and one proved this concept so well it ended up in the top 5 for me. That series is number 5, Kimono Jian. I love its cast, I love their interactions, and I fell in love with their interpretation of yokai society. And I simply just want more of it as soon as I can. But these last 4 really step it up. The first of these is number 4, Ranking of Kings. Oh boy, this series is so good. It has a mute protagonist and he has just so much character. Like, you have to understand how difficult that can be to write, both as a character and having to frame the story around that character. It has great development for its sidecast, its world is primed to be built upon, and I'm very hopeful that it will get a second season. Taking the bronze for the year is number 3, Shadow's House. I like myself some world building, and few did it as well as Shadow House did. Every new fact slowly unravels the truth of what is happening at the titular Shadow House. It also goes to show just how dangerous it is for our protagonists as they attempt to balance keeping up appearances with plotting how to escape their eventual fates. Silver goes to number 2, Skate the Infinity. Skate anime go whoosh! In all seriousness, as much as I love Shadow House's world building and how it makes my brain fire on all cylinders, sometimes the simple stuff can be just as fun. It also doesn't hurt that it's beautifully animated and directed. It sports a colorful cast of characters that are a lot of fun to see compete and interact with each other. It's also hella gay, and I'm all for it. If sports are what you crave, you do it as well, as Skate does. However, the best anime of the year is number 1, Vivy. Vivy was simply my favorite story from this year of Funimation. Well told and paced, and definitively completed. It is also beautifully animated, it gets bonuses for being a new original work, it cleverly handles the subject of time travel and the butterfly effect, and I just enjoy this interpretation of artificial intelligence. And for me, it was the best series that Funimation added to its site in the year of 2021.